Okay. I'll call this special city council meeting to order, meeting of the Seward City Council on October 19th, 2022. Councilmember DeMoss, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Tonight's roll call. Casagrande is excused. DeMoss?
here.
Calhoun?
Here.
Osenga?
Here.
McClure?
Here.
Wells?
Here.
And Mayor Terry is excused, so you have a quorum, Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you. On our agenda next is citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearing items. If you've signed in, you get 3 minutes, and then others can raise their hands if they want, and it's 36-minute total time. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed in?
We do not.
Does anyone want to speak at this time? And you know the drill.
Hi, Skip Ryerson, Inside City Limits. Well, it's nice to see a couple more folks out in the audience today. I gotta say, it was pretty lonely the other night. This is two of us out there. But I do want to thank the 51 viewers on YouTube who watched the videos. So there was some hope that there are some people out there. Had I paid more attention, though, at the agenda for the evening, I might have learned, like some of the other folks, that we have moved away from our typical historical work session format, where it's been an inactive process with the community, and we've gone to a committee as a whole function. So obviously, storing up a page full of comments until the last 5 minutes, and I appreciated your extra 5 minutes, really set me off guard, and if I didn't look discombobulated, I'm going to tell you I was, because I was just trying to grab at the largest items on the list that I could share with you. So I won't be participating with you tonight. I'll refrain, and I'll probably just go watch it on YouTube, and I'll just send my comments in. I do have a couple of comments that I just wanted to pass along while I'm here, and I've got 1 minute and 48 left. And again, it comes back to the sales tax, and while we've been conservative, I want to continue to reiterate, that our town is very susceptible to the seasonality. I looked at the borough's overall tax impacts during COVID from 2018 to 2022. Interesting that Soldotna and Kenai were basically unaffected by the sales tax, by the COVID activity. I saw no real red numbers in their sales tax except for one quarter, I think, at one of those communities. We, on the other hand, took the biggest percentage drop in our second and third quarters in 2020. 45% declines in both our second and third quarters. Those are pretty significant numbers. We did bounce back, but it just kind of points out to me, I thought everybody was sharing in this COVID decline, and it's just an indication that we just need to be mindful of as we go forward, and to try to determine with some type of accuracy what type of revenue stream we're going to be able to forecast out in the future. I don't think any of us have that crystal ball, but I know you'll do your best to try to hold back on expense increases to try to balance that budget and weather any type of storm that we might be faced with in the future. You do have a couple of items before you tonight that I thought I'd at least touch on briefly. No, I can't. So thank you very much for your time, and much success tonight. I'll watch on TV.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, I would ask for a motion and second to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
I move to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Voting on tonight's agenda and consent agenda. DeMoss?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Calhoun?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McClure?
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved, and there are no items on consent.
Okay, thank you. We're moving into new business, which we will go into a committee of the whole, and I would ask for a motion and a second to go into a committee of the whole to discuss the 2023-2024 City of Seward budget.
I will move to go into a committee as a whole to discuss the 2023-2024 budget.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? Okay, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Voting to move into committee of the whole, DeMoss,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Leclerc.
Yes,
That motion is approved, and you're moving into committee at 5:35.
thank you. So at this point, I wanted to announce, I plan to announce, and I am announcing that we're going to allow citizen comments during this time. But what I'm going to do is allow for comments after each presentation. So there will be 4 opportunities. And I have already asked the clerk to time this, so each citizen would get 5 minutes per each time. So, and that's kind of, we're trying that out tonight. I wish the citizen that spoke earlier would have stuck around a little longer to hear that. So we're in the committee of the whole, and we start with the library, but administration, do you want to have some words first?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a lot other than MC is not joining us by phone, and as you can see, Crystal is here with us this evening. I'm not sure, Crystal, do you have anything to start out with?
Not for tonight, no, just that I probably will be taking a lot of notes for MC to follow up with us.
And any questions that we have for Monday night, we're still working on, and we'll get back to you on those.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess we're ready for the library and historic presentation.
I think there's not really, do you want me to go through line by line or just the big changes or what?
It's kind of your choice. If if we're looking at the pages, maybe the big changes. How does the rest of the council feel? We can, big changes?
Oh, yeah.
Overview type thing?
Yeah.
Okay, and it looks to me we're starting on page 81. Got it. Just so maybe we can announce that as we go along. It makes it easier and less paper rustling up here. And for people just listening, the presentation is from Bailey Saylor, the
Really see
library director.
I think the biggest change right now that we have is the training. And that's on page 82, where we're in 2022, I'm sorry, in the travel and subsistence, where we, in 2022, had budgeted $2,600, and that's being moved, hoping to get $10,000 for training, travel and subsistence. And then, yeah. So that mainly is so that way before there was only enough budgeted to where I could go to training and my staff couldn't go to training. I have found that getting to send, I had to send an employee to the PLA this year, and she came back with 2 suitcases full of free books for the library, along with tons of grant information for a whole bunch of grants that we could apply for. And to me, it was huge, all the stuff she learned and brought back and the different programs and stuff. So I want to make sure that it's more than just me going and that my employees can go as well. We're looking at lots of grant training this year, and a lot of the different trainings, next year, is the PLA, the ACLA, Ripple, ARSOL, which is for small libraries, and then the state does pay for a lot of my CUs that I have to get to stay to be a librarian, but all of these trainings, I don't think we'll go to all of them, but just having the money to go to, being able to send each employee to something would be hugely beneficial. I don't remember anything else that was big this year. Yeah.
Okay. Questions? Councilmember Demas?
Yeah, since we were discussing the grants, I was just curious. Is your department responsible just for getting your own grants? Is that how that works?
Yes, ma'am. We've
Okay.
been doing all our own grants this year. We've got 2 from ARPA. We got a $37,777. We got another $6,000 one, another $7,200 grant. We got another $400 one, and then we got the $7,000 for the PLA. I think our total so far is at $58,377. And yeah, we do them in-house because it's not beneficial because they're such small grants except for the ARPA grant. It's just more beneficial for us to do them, and then that way it doesn't cost the city anything other than paying us to do it.
That makes sense. Thank you.
That answered my big question. Other questions? Councilmember Wells?
Yeah, first, thanks for making it tonight. So I noticed under, and again, I'll just apologize now in advance, only once for this evening since it's my first time, I'm still trying to learn, but under operating supplies, I noticed that 18, 19, 20, they're all between 10 and 17,000. We had budgeted this year 22,360. Thus far, we spent 11,000, but now we're back up to 2023 and 2024, 22,000. And I'm trying to understand how that's possible. If we've only spent 11,000 thus far, we never broke except for an 18, 15,000 in the past. Why are we bumping it 2023 to 2024 to 22,000?
We've already spent $22,000 this year on a lot of my.
This is to June,
Mhm,
okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we already spent 22,000 on operating, okay.
Yes, which is, so some of the supplies and different things we need for events and stuff go under here. I have noticed some discrepancies as far as like some of my grant stuff got coded to operating supplies, and it should actually be in small tools and equipment. I was looking at that, it was like January and February. There were some items that should have went to ARPA. And then some other discrepancies which could definitely be on our end when we coded it instead of putting it into tools where it should have been, because we had to buy a lot of tools. We've had to buy a lot of supplies and cleaning stuff, and sometimes when it comes off of Amazon, you just operating supplies instead of putting it probably to janitorial or to tools, just depending on what the item is.
May I continue?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the future, just are we able to, yes, get things coded so that we understand? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so under the library standing orders, I noticed 18 was 900, 2019 was 3, nothing for 20, nothing for 21. We budgeted for 2022 4,000, and I guess as to June, we're at 42. And then we're at 4,000 for 23 and 24. What are library standing orders for the public that may not know?
So library standing orders is where, when we know books are going to be coming out but they're not yet available, we can put in an order, and then we've essentially placed our hold on that item, and then when it is available, it'll come. I haven't done too many of the library standing orders this year because I'll go spend our grant money, and then they're like, you can't get this book. So I've been getting the books that I can get and spending the money, so that way I know it's spent, and then I'm not getting the credits, and then I have to go back and spend the money. But this is part of our PLA grant. We just divided it amongst these line items.
Okay. And then under maintenance and repairs, I noticed that we were budgeted for 58,000 this year. Does everybody know what that is? Huh? Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So I noticed that we budgeted 58, we're at 17, and then we're at 58 for 2023 and 58 for 2024. And I did read the maintenance and repairs back here. The amount covers roof leaks, plumbing, and heating. But what I don't understand is if we budgeted 58,000 this year, what did we fix? And how can a person that owns a building and has to do repairs, how can we budget 58,000 each year for the next 2 years? I don't understand.
So we are, right now, until we can get our boiler fixed and our overall heating system fixed. We have repairs that just randomly spring up in the library with the pipes leaking. We've had to buy a lot of these replacement fittings, and because they're failing, and you just sometimes will have maybe 2 a year go out, and then other times it seems like they're failing, and then long comes down when they come down, and it's pretty expensive. Oh, the other things too is we were fixing a bunch of electrical stuff, and then we put the orders in, we go and get the bids, and then we send everything to finance, and then it's summertime, and nobody wants to come do a $1,200, $1,500 fix on the library, so then we wait till wintertime for a lot of those things to get fixed. But that's mainly because our building has been neglected for a while, and we're trying to catch up on all the different things. Do we know that this is this is only June, so this isn't reflective of everything we've already fixed?
Correct, it's not reflective of what we have fixed. I just found it to say we needed another 58 and 23 and another 58 and 24. It just seems like a pretty even projection.
I can attest to what's been going on as someone involved with the museum, that we've discovered leaks in our secure storage of artifacts, and that was way back, and they just pop up. There was a whole, you can speak to that better, but we replaced a whole bunch of whatever those fittings are, and there's still leaks. It's all part of the way the building was constructed, to say it discreetly. There were issues apparently, and there was some kicking the can down the road for a while too. So, within a building that has historical artifacts and books, you don't want water leaks. That's thing one.
Agreed.
There were issues with the electrical, with the lights in the museum. It seems to be, and I agree with what you put in there, an ongoing issue. They may not always have to spend that much, but it's good to have the money, because before there wasn't the money expended or available, and that's part of the problem, I think. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeMoss?
The library isn't that old, so I have concerns about all of these maintenance issues. And can we go back to the original builder? Are there insurance claims with?
Oh, yes.
I mean, has this been explored? You don't have to tell me in detail, I'm just wondering. I'm sure you're on top of it, but
Yes,
just for
ma'am,
the
we
public.
have. They're no
Thank
longer
you.
in business.
Okay.
I have spoken with Long at length. They're here today doing some repairs on our building. I talked to them and I sent some numbers. They will not give us a bid on what we need to fix until we get an engineer out. What he's told me so far is our computer, if IT doesn't update, our computer will crash. We'll no longer be able to control our boiler system. That is about $28,000 to fix that. And then the software side, just the system itself, the boiler system, how they created it, all of these things. Yeah, they essentially told us we're putting Band-Aids on this system.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It was an issue. Anyone over here? Okay, Councilmember
I'll let
Wells.
him
Yeah,
continue.
Councilmember Wells.
Sorry, I don't mean to take up all the
No,
time.
that's okay.
I just had one last question, and again, I'm just asking, right? Okay. So, I did, so obviously when I was looking at the education and training, and we went from, 2,600 budgeted to over 4,100 thus far as of June 30th, that's correct? Before I even got to say anything, you said that you did apply for grants over $58,700, correct? And so at first the red flag was $10,000 in 2023 and $10,000 in 2024 for training and travel, correct? But if I understand that correctly from your last statement, that with $4,197 of travel expenses, you were able to generate over $58,700 in grants, is that correct? So would you then project that if you had $10,000, could we expect to double this $58,000?
That would be amazing.
I'm trying to put an ROI on it, that's all.
The other thing too is like some of the trainings that I go to, the state will reimburse us for. They just reimbursed us for the one I went to in Anchorage last week. So the state is really great about reimbursing, but they apply for grants and then we reap the benefits of it. But yes, Grant Train is great.
Yeah, I mean, if I could get a $58,000 return on $4,100, you better believe I'd do it every day. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Councilmember Calhoun.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I saw the same thing on the maintenance repair, and there are other issues that she and I had a quick chat about. There's some air intake things that, you know, she doesn't ventilate her office because it sucks in the diesel smell from the boiler whose exhaust is just out where her stuff is. So there, I think what I'd like to see possibly come to us at some point is an itemized list of the stuff that, you know, employees need to at least be comfortable in their workspace. Apparently they also did not have an egress out of their workspace, and there was an issue just very recently where they had to develop an egress out of their workspace. That's not really an acceptable thing either. So, and the other thing I had real quick on the travel and education, I guess maybe it's a coding thing or it's maybe just me. When the $10,000 is travel and subsistence, but there's $2,000 for education and training. But yet on the travel and subsistence, it says that amount represents travel expenses and on-site education. Wouldn't that on-site education amount be down in the education and training line as opposed to the travel and subsistence line? To maybe get a little better idea on what we're looking at there. It's a minor thing, I know, but just maybe something we could look at there.
Okay.
But I just think, I think we're really gonna have to take a look at the maintenance on that building and try and figure out something. One last quick thing too, was a question on the salaries, line 6,000, where we budgeted $312,270 in '22, and in '23 we're budgeting $356,420. That was just kind of an idea on what that bump was. Was it new employees? Was it just raises, or just so that we can all understand a $44,000 difference?
There's no new employees. We had one position originally, oh, am I out of turn? No.
Pardon?
Sorry, I should make sure I'm not out of turn here.
Oh.
So we had one position that originally was a full-time position. It got split into two part-time, full-time positions, and they corrected it and put it back to a full-time position where it should be. And so that one position, initially we were having to pay per hour, each person $16.95 an hour, and now, so we were paying two people that for that time, and now we are paying $20.80, which paying two people in that position, we were paying well above $20.80. So now we're paying one person for that position.
Madam City Manager.
So we'll get the total breakdown on it, but and give you the exact amounts. And what she was speaking of, yeah, there was a full-time position that got broken out, but state benefited on both sides of the two part-time people. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So now it's back to the full-time, which it should have stayed at. But I don't think that that is causing this impact. It could be part of the contract increase for the union. So we'll run all the numbers and bring that back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions about library museum? Comments? Also, you have HP.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you want to move to that? There, what, page 26? I wrote down. 26.
26.
To the listening public, HP is Historic Preservation Commission. do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, the salary we learned that's me for my time at the meetings, that's, right?
Right, and you might explain that since
Okay.
you're up there. Why are you at the meetings? I mean, it's valid.
Yes, so I attend the HP meetings. I am there on behalf of Jeanette and Stephen. And I do their council packets, and I help them with anything that they need before their meetings, and trying to make sure that they stay on their mission and task, and just help them. That's why I'm support mainly.
Just so people know.
Yes.
Are there any questions about this? That's probably the smallest budget we have, right? Okay, Councilmember Wells.
Yeah, I just was wondering about the bump in the 2022 budget for the health insurance. And then it drops down to nothing, and I'm sure this is something that Jeanette could have answered for me before we got here, but.
All right. And looking at that, first of all, last year with the 2022 budget, that's one that I worked on, and at some point, we ended up calculating, I believe that ended up calculation not only of the library director's insurance, it ended up being health insurance, ended up being others as well, and that really isn't the best practice. They fixed that this year to make it really rich.
Okay, perfect. Good question,
Thank
good
you.
answer. Okay, other questions about this? Okay, seeing none, did you have anything else to offer us tonight?
Well, we have the laser tag coming November 5th to the library. So exciting things, and we're working on more things. NaNoWrite for November. We are bringing Murder Mystery Night, and then of course our Christmas event that we're working on.
Okay, I want to thank you for all the activities you've been putting forth for youth and kids and, everything that's being run very well, I believe, at this point. Thank you. So, as I stated, we could have comment, questions from a citizen. If a citizen would like to comment at this point, just raise your hand and come on up, and if not, we'll catch you on the next one. Okay, seeing no one coming up, and look at this, we're almost exactly on time for our next presentation, which is Parks and Rec and Parking. And just for the folks, could you tell who you are too and all that?
Maggie Wilkins, Parks and Rec Director. Thanks for having me, and thanks for taking the time out of your lives to do this. I'm here to learn as much as to share. It's been a very steep learning curve, but it's been fun. No, I don't think you're going to see any huge surprises, but let me know. In general, you're going to see, like everyone else, an increase in training, and we are looking to add a full-time, year-round benefited maintenance position. And I'll just give a quick spiel. In general, as we struggle to recruit and retain staff, I don't see that going away. And so I think it's really important that we invest in the long-term staff that we have by training them. We're also going to be asking them to do more. We're looking to restructure our department. I really just, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. Try to find a good balance there. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the former good old days of being flush with applicants. And so we've got to invest in the people that are here and sticking around after several very hard years. And we do that by training them, and then we ask them to do more. And it's a win-win. The full-time maintenance position is imperative. I cannot stress enough, and I will be the squeakiest wheel, because when you have as much responsibility maintaining grounds as we do, and you are dealing with a constant turnover every few months of staff, even the most exceptional people that come along, they just don't have that long-term buy-in or that care or the knowledge. They don't have that connection to the community to care on the level that we need. We just have a lot of ground to cover, and we have a lot of equipment, And we have a lot of work to do just to get caught up. And we really have a great thing going down there, and we really want to up our quality that we're delivering to the public here in Seward and to our visitors. So, and we need to do that with someone who's invested and living here and cares about the equipment, because it's the equipment they have to use season after season. And so that's why we're asking for that position.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Manager.
And it is in the budget, so the number that you see is budgeted. The amount is fully budgeted there for that position. And obviously, Maggie speaks to it well, but I fully, really would support her in this position, and obviously by putting it in, I voice my support. But Parks and Rec, I really feel like, especially through our campgrounds and our parks and the parking, they're the face of our community, and the constant turnover in that department is very, very difficult, and this maintenance position is just critical. With all of the equipment that needs repaired, and it's not just equipment, it's the bathrooms, it's all of the things in the campground that need repaired. And this past summer, we really, thankfully, both electric and public works stepped in to help us, but we really didn't have probably the level of expertise that we would need to do all the needed repairs. And really hoping through this full-time position, we could hire someone with the skills and knowledge to do the repairs that are needed, so that the other staff members can do their job that they need to do. So that's why we've had this conversation. As Maggie stated, she is also in the process of restructuring to ensure more efficiencies within the department as well. So we've had these
Stay
long
tuned.
conversations.
Mid-budget cycle.
Good, good. Before you go on, there's a question.
Of course.
Councilmember Dumas.
I think I just answered it myself, but just to verify, the full-time maintenance position the pay is $36,000?
Yeah. Will say that I'm not really thrilled, but I don't know that includes, I didn't know how that worked. I didn't know if that included, that doesn't obviously include benefits.
No.
Yeah. So
No, that's just straight up on the salary line.
It's a straight annual salary. It's not great, but it's a start,
Okay. You can go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and I know that as you're looking through, especially the revenue section, I'm sure there's some red flags there. You'll see a dip in parking when we get there. There was no parking staff this summer, and for those that don't know, I came in July 4th weekend, so it was a bit of a, out of the pan into the fire kind of deal. But it was noted to me right then that we didn't have parking. In fact, I covered Upland's parking lot. That was my first duty, trying to keep everybody out of there and get it cleared out for fireworks. But yeah, so obviously that we hope to change, again, staff dependent, but we're trying to get that brought up to speed too and get some striping done in there. And, if we come into a position where we don't have the staffing there, adequate staffing, at least it'll be marked appropriately and, kind of care for itself a little better. I will say that I'm happy that it wasn't worse. I think for the most part, people were paying, it was a bit of an honor system, but I think out-of-towners didn't really know any different, and so we did okay. But it did, as the summer wound on, you see less and less compliance down there, obviously, as people caught on.
Excuse me just a second.
Yeah.
Councilmember Calhoun.
I just have a request, and if nobody wants to do this, that's cool, but could we maybe address each section?
Yeah.
And let us ask our questions about each section before she moves on, so that we're not trying to go back and forth, and does that make sense?
Okay. Did you have a
Thanks,
question at this point?
No, the salary thing was my biggest thing, is exactly where I guess, and on that maintenance job, is that individual equipment maintenance, building maintenance, bathroom maintenance? So you're hoping to get a small engine repair, carpenter, plumber?
We couldn't, if that person exists, and yes, we will do everything in our
Probably for
power
not
to recruit that
$3,000 a
person.
month.
No, So we'll take what we can get, and I'll lean on, other folks' expertise there as to who we should recruit more aggressively. Both are needed, we would do equally as well, I think, with someone who had mechanic know-how over building and construction know-how. But, I don't think we can be that choosy, but, maybe we'll get lucky.
The last question that I have, and this is probably more for administration, it's a curiosity for me, and I should have probably asked you before. What was the restructuring, or what did we do where we bumped from $104,000 worth of salaries in '21 to budgeting $564,000
I think they just moved everyone into admin, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we
it's
took
not-
all the
yeah.
helpers and all that and just pushed them
Just
into
trying to
one.
simplify it.
Okay.
That's going to be my question.
It's a good question. Actually, I circled it because I was gonna, if anyone wanted to talk about that, I knew that might come up.
We have more questions up here, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Who wants to go first? Councilmember Demas.
Thank you. I just had a comment about the maintenance position. I think that Councilmember Calhoun made kind of a good point, but also I think that maybe you could, if you find someone that knows half of what you're looking for, you
Yeah.
can work with them and
Yeah.
get them trained to
That's
maybe.
where the training comes in.
Exactly,
Honestly, they're right. In my experience, and I've been a supervisor for 20-plus years now, more often than not, I'd like the person with the right personality to come in, and you'll see more about culture down the road. We're going down a whole new road here, but I've always had more experience, better experience training the right individual with the right attitude and the right passion level versus someone with a bunch of paperwork and has all the know-how. So
Yeah.
that's where training comes in, and that's really how it should be. We should be training the right individual first.
For sure. Thank you.
Councilmember Wells.
So I just want to clarify there. So we put all the salaries, we bumped all the people into one group under administration, and so I assume then that's what is up with health insurance and why that bumped up? Okay. And are we in the 700 series, 7,000 series? Have we got there yet?
For admin? Yeah.
Under non-personnel costs? So I'm just curious, what do we contract out under contracted services? I just don't know.
Well, I think it varies year to year,
Okay.
just depending on the ability. And again, this is why it would be nice to have that consistency. So it could vary from, right now I'd really like someone to work on an emergency door at TIC.
Okay.
But, you can't always find the work. Let's see, what else have we done? Well, we'll be looking to replace the water heater down at the shower house. It's very old and it started to crap out at the end of the season.
Okay, so I didn't realize, I thought, I was thinking subcontractor, but you were actually talking about hiring somebody to come do things.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
I understand.
we lack the skill within the department, but also some of this stuff would be, above and beyond.
Okay, thank you.
We're good? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, where is everyone? Are we all on admin still, 69?
No, that was on the 1410.
Well, so you'll see.
Okay, you pick a spot. We'll go there.
Start with admin.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and just, I'll get ahead of it here. Again, so I'm learning, so I really want this to be collaborative, and I'm looking to learn from you guys. So I feel as though, but I'm still new, and I'm observing, I feel as though our advertising budget is quite big. And I think a lot of that has to do with how much we had to recruit, and, so I hope that will kind of level out. But I just wanted to make mention of that because it's kind of substantial. Did anyone have any other questions on admin 69 before we move on?
We're clear where we're at? No? I guess we're good.
Yeah, the narrative breaks out training. If you have any other follow-up questions, feel free to reach out.
What page are you on, please?
Oh, I just was saying the narrative on 70 for admin training. And it's pretty much the same carbon copy for each department. A lot of this training is similar. Okay, so we're on 71. This is the maintenance budget. I didn't get a chance to chat with you, Crystal, beforehand, but if we could look at, since we're here, line item for maintenance and repair. I didn't know if that was an error, seeing that it's lower, or is that one of the ones we broke into two different?
I believe,
Line items.
let me verify.
I didn't catch it until
That's really small.
later this afternoon.
We're talking about.
7216, maintenance
7216.
and
Yeah.
repair, you'll see it, the budget drops pretty substantially.
Right.
I have it highlighted.
Yeah, I have to go
I just wanted to make
find
sure
mine.
that I was cued into what was,
Let me see if I can find the original
Okay.
conversation.
and
We'll
I'll.
move on and I'll let
Yep,
you
I'll
know.
move on, let's see.
Maybe under gas and lube. No
Yeah.
way.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking.
golly, I know. Yeah, that's pretty bad. And I don't know, 6:30, this is accurate, actuals for June 30th. So I am certain that we crept right up close to 10. I'm not positive. I didn't get a chance. I'm locked out of Act 2 funds, so I'm not able to really check on actuals right now. But let me know if that seems exorbitant.
Yeah, I think that is the account area.
Okay, so just make a note on your copy, everyone, that 7216, maintenance and repair, I believe that's supposed to be 15,800, is that?
I
much-
think we're at 5.8.
How much are you putting in
5,000.
there?
5,800?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, yes, yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
Councilmember Wells has a question or comment here.
I just heard you say that we crept up to 10,000, but I didn't understand or realize which line item we were talking
Oh, I'm
about.
sorry, so
No
gas
problem.
and lube.
Gas and lube.
came
Okay,
up
so
in-
I'm glad you're gonna touch on that, so.
Yeah, I'll peek and see where we're at, but that is a bit high, and
as a person that owns a charter boat, I'm seriously wondering how
Yeah.
we're budgeting $11,500 for Parks and Rec gas and lube, so.
that's a good.
If I may,
Please.
part of
Mowers
it that,
and-
yeah, the mowers is the trucks, because they drive, to each park and to each place, and so a lot of it is the mowers, the cost of mowing as well for the mowers, so
But not the labor, just the fuel.
just the.
Yes.
I'll look into it though, and I'll see where we're at. I'll chat and
No
see.
problem.
Yep.
Okay,
This might not be.
okay.
Yeah, we'll double check it.
And then,
Oh, you've got more?
huh? Oh, no, sorry, nope, I don't. My bad, sorry.
Okay, baby.
I'm gonna go ahead too, and you guys pick out anything else you want, but I wanted to call attention to the improvements other than buildings at 8105. So, tried very hard to, a couple of items was put on the budget prior. It was reseating flagpoles and Benny Benson, and to my knowledge, it's just the one. It's the city flagpole. If you'll notice, it doesn't look super noticeable from the roadside, but if you go on the other side of it, it's pretty clearly listing. We tried to get information about that, but I just have no idea how much what it would take to reseat a flagpole. And so, that's kind of an arbitrary number, to be honest, and I don't think it's enough because also lumped in there is our water heater ask for shower house. So, just FYI, I can look into that a little further, but it's hard when you reach out to contractors and people with know-how and they don't get back to you. They're busy, so it's hard to build a budget there. And anything else on this page that stands out you guys wanted to talk about?
Councilmember
I did,
Calhoun?
actually. Obviously, the gas and lube was a question, and I'm sure we'll get some numbers on that. The other one that I'd like you to discuss is the motor pool bump to 92,000
Yeah,
for the next 2 years.
Yeah, we're really hopeful to get to new trucks. If you look at with the exception of the nice white one, our trucks are in pretty rough shape in general. I don't know the last time that we received new vehicles, but getting to new vehicles would be ideal. understand that's asking a lot.
And those vehicles,
Trucks.
they haul mowers, they tow the ride-along,
Yeah,
they
so,
drive through the
yeah, like the
campgrounds.
Gardner has one with the big water tank in it. But these trucks, I think they're pretty old. I would say early 2000s. And they're just kind of falling apart. In fact, we might be able to edit this because we're going to go ahead and get a transmission in the Gardner's truck. Because we're down to just a few vehicles now, and we need them for winter maintenance stuff, so. Is that something you want me to dig into a little more?
Well, I just was looking at your note, it says 2 trucks each year. So you're looking to buy 4 new trucks?
No, I don't, I think
Because that's what the note says.
Thank you, no, that's in there.
And then it talks about 12,000 from 2022, so that's 12,000 that you didn't spend?
I don't know if that's carryover. Is that carryover?
Madam City
No.
Manager?
So
Well, and if that's just.
we'll take a look at that, but the 12,000 would be the yearly amount that goes into the motor pool fund.
That's the normal amount?
Yeah, that's the normal
Okay.
amount, and then we'll look at that because it does read as 2 trucks a year, and it's 2 trucks total.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
And maybe just a note on this, if this is not the right spot, maybe have a work session on a motor pool fund at some point and just make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We do have that scheduled? I'm sorry. Not,
Let me
Very
receive.
last
November
thing.
1st.
Very last thing on November.
okay, I'll talk to you, because that's not really what I was getting at. Was not
Okay,
that part.
You can discuss this later.
Yeah, it's more how it functions.
Okay.
Anything else on 71? No, okay, I'm gonna flip over. Campgrounds up next,
Page 73.
73, that's right. So here's where, and I'm still trying to get a handle on it, I'll chat with Crystal again at length, but they did want to separate into 2 line items, operating materials versus operating supplies. And I'll admit, I don't have a super firm handle on the difference yet, but basically we just took operating and split it into 2 different categories. So that's what you see there. And I did kind of, the total is closer to what you see from 2019, you know, a little closer to 30 total. Yeah, same with maintenance. Oh, here we go. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. So here's where the water heater, I think we were thinking, under capital equipment. And then the 80, so 80 in 2023 is fire ring, additional fire rings and picnic tables, I believe. And then the 50 in 2024 was intended for water heater. But I don't know that we'll be able to wait that long, but we'll circle back to that.
So on that, the budget for 2022 is $100,000 for?
Right, so that
capital
was
equipment?
fire rings and picnic tables and came in
Okay, but
around.
it shows no expenditures, no actuals?
There has, yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't understand what.
I'm sorry, it has been ordered.
Yeah.
So there is an expense at this time.
Okay,
It
it's
wasn't
just not
reported.
recorded. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Get through this page and then I'll ask questions.
Anything else from this page that's?
There might be, so who is, yes, Councilmember Wells.
So on the revenues,
Yes.
where we have camping fees and Councilmember Calhoun had stated something similar to this at the last budget meeting, is should we not be looking at more at, and I agree, more at like 2019 projections? Because I see here that we went from 2021, the actual was 960,000, which we all know 2021 was an exceptional year. But then 2023 is over $1 million and 2024 is over $1 million. But prior to 2021, we had never gotten even close to that, so.
But our fees increased substantially.
Right.
I know our fees did go up like, what, 18% or something?
No, it was.
I don't know, actually.
Madam
More
City-
than that.
Madam City Manager.
Thank you. The increase is really due to the increased fees. The user amount has been about the same, but it has been the increased revenue from the increased fee that has caused that. And looking at, and we will bring you back the projections through August, but we're already met the 2022 budget projections.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Other questions at this point before we move along? Councilmember Calhoun?
This is just a question that's going to come up in a lot of different places, so maybe this is a good place to do it. And just so people understand, I think we're looking at that. Line 7003, expenditures, bank and credit card fees.
Yeah.
The total, I have to imagine that the total credit card fees that this city pays has got to be fairly astronomical for accepting credit cards. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, because obviously that's how people travel and do everything, but what I'd like to see at some point is what that total amount is that we pay in credit card fees every year, and then if there's a way that we can reach out to try and reduce that amount of money, or just figure out a way to make it not quite such a deep cut, in the city budget when it comes to that.
Madam City Manager.
Thank you. We've been having these conversations internally about this, and I will have that information about the total amount that is incurred by the city. And some of it is the credit card processors. We're looking at different ones with lower fees, and then also at what point is the consumer paying the fee for it as well? Because as you know, some places where you go online, you pay, they call it a convenience fee, and it's actually because you're using your credit card that you pay that convenience fee rather than on our site saying the city would pay it. So we're having those conversations, and it has, back when credit cards, and those of you who have businesses and or users, the credit card fees were really high at the very beginning. Now there are more processors and more services, more offered, so those costs are coming down. So we are looking at possibly changing processors, doing an RFP for these things and to reduce the cost. But I'll get you the cost and we'll continue to work on that.
Follow? Okay. Councilmember Wells.
Being in the retail business, I understand the astronomical credit card fees. Has the city thought in any way about taking other forms of payment? Because the average credit card processor fee, from what I understand, it doesn't matter if you're a $20 million company or not, 2.4% is on the low side and 3.5% is on the high side, and I've never seen it under 2.4%. Doesn't matter how much you're processing. However, there are, as we all know, other forms of payment. And so is there a possibility that, for example, our reservation system for the campground and things like that could take other forms of payment?
Meaning?
Well, you got PayPal, Venmo, you have all these other types of Apple Wallet. We have all these other types of payment processing that's not a credit card.
Right. And also then, I know, because I use Venmo, to transfer funds, I pay the fee.
That's right.
As I'm paying something, so I pay the fee. So it is something we will look at and to see if it's something that we can use. All these ideas are on the table because we obviously have a need to reduce our fees.
Right.
We're also looking into switching our CampSpot, the platform we use for online reservations. It's been very prohibitive in a lot of ways. whether or not we can save fee-wise, it would be worth our while to investigate something else, simply for the fact that I think it was built around maybe more mom-and-pop type campgrounds, and I don't think I've found a single campground that was a municipality, and so trying to find somebody that works with municipalities and will jive with the budget more and just make this more streamlined would be a goal too, so you might be able to save somewhere.
Okay. All right, you can go ahead.
So cemetery, for community development has been shouldering most of the weight of cemetery operation type stuff. We've been doing maintenance and things like that, but they've been handling the bulk of these big projects that have been going on. And this budget has a lot more activity than normal, and then more than you will probably see in the near future. So there was a lot going on this year. We had ground penetrating radar. That was a part of the 7009 contracted services. So we spent most of that. And then, so that you won't see any more there, or you shouldn't. And then operating supplies is just like soil for backfill, that kind of stuff. And then, let's see, so 70,000 in the budget for this year under capital equipment was for Columbarium, but that came in way under budget. I don't even fully understand it, but it's wonderful. Basically, we partnered with the other outfits there, Pioneers and Legion, and got a better deal, and so way under budget there. 9403 actually, yeah, the next line there is what we did. And then what we'd like to do with the remainder there is to purchase some temporary and unknown grave markers. I don't know if you guys have been cued into the results from the ground penetrating radar, but there are far more unmarked graves than we anticipated, and so, and it's really important to us that we identify them, put something down and mark them, and those are, it adds up. So we're going to try and start with 60 of those, and hope that it'll get us started, but I don't have an exact number, but there's quite a bit. And you'll hear more about that from community development.
Right.
And let's see, but I believe, you had removed some for next year, the budget. Did you remove 50 from cemetery? I thought, no, that didn't happen? Okay, I misheard. Good. I hope you'll agree to fund that. I think it's really important that we continue to just bring our cemeteries up and get it all organized, and they've done so much work in community development, so.
Right, I can speak to that. I'm a great lover of cemeteries. Years back, and it was city workers probably, there was some removal of markers. They weren't labeled well, and there was some cleanup of the cemetery. This is what my knowledge that was passed to me, and so that's why there are so many unmarked graves.
Okay.
There are records of where people are buried with the Kenai totem tracers, and there might be records that would tell you some of these identities of some of these people. So maybe we can talk about these
yes,
things.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Put you in touch with that.
Thank you.
Madam City Manager.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing up totem tracers. So also, like Maggie indicated, working with community development on the cemetery, and we will have a further report of the ground penetrating radar results and also steps moving forward. One is to contact, to have a meeting with Lee Gillespie and yourself for some historical information on it. One expense of Columbarium was under at $9,400 approximately, but also there'll be an expense from the $70,000 for the concrete pad that it's going on. But yeah, so but other than that, that was the amount that was spent on it.
4,500 is what that's contract, which is pretty reasonable. So we're still, we're within the.
We're still within.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just had too many ways
That's
to
all right,
look.
just one quick question, and not trying to be picky about it, but line item 7221, budgeted 50,000 for soil for backfill, grade markers. And then in 8103, we have grade stones and marker replacements. And so we've got
think that was
that item in both lines.
Oh, okay.
We have that item in both lines.
Yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal, would you mind?
So what happened is we had put in the 50 into 7221, and then we learned that we had money left over from the capital equipment, and so we added that line in, and we didn't adjust.
So good catch.
Yeah, we need to adjust that one.
Which, that's a reduction.
So, yay.
So we just need to, yeah.
Just remove 20.
This is why we're doing
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah, just need
Very
to
No,
remove
no, no, no,
as
no.
many eyes as we can get on.
It's a lot of things to watch.
Yeah, so we'll adjust the 23 and the 24 budget based on the needs and what we
I see.
anticipate for those grade markers.
Perfect. Okay.
Anything else on cemetery before we move on? Okay, sports and rec. So sports and rec, obviously the big one here is our rents due to AvTech. We operate out of AvTech 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 hours each day. It's a large expense at $80,000 per year. And ideally, as we get, we recruit staff on, we can add days to have more offering for our public and users. So we left it as is, but, that's something that we might have to look at again, mid-budget. But hopefully, maybe we can negotiate it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll hold out hope. Any questions with that?
Questions?
I wasn't part of the negotiating process, but I can find out any questions.
Councilmember DeMoss?
Can we just ask the city manager to let us know what the current terms are for our new contract with AvTech?
So our, excuse me if I may, so our old rate previously was $300 a day, and effective Labor Day of 2022, it went to $400 a day. So that $80,000 was hopeful based upon the number of days that Maggie and Jenny were intending to, because as you can see, we really haven't spent a lot until you go back to 2018. And a big portion of that has just been lack of access. So I think the community would really like to see us spend $80,000 for that public access piece.
Yes.
So that's why the cost went up.
There's great attendance so far. I covered a couple days last week, getting good attendance.
And just one more thing, and on the state side, so Parks and Rec staff and myself met with Johnny Provost and David Paperman, gosh, June, right before Maggie got here. And they are experiencing in the public spaces, they're seeing increased maintenance costs, heating costs, et cetera. And so that's why it went from 300 to 400. Basically, it's just a pass through of their cost increases back along to the city.
And we took other measures, we only operate the sauna, which is a huge draw, a couple hours a day, just trying to make, little adjustments and cuts.
And just one more question, thank you. I was wondering, how many days are we ultimately intending to try to get open for $80,000 or access to?
I have that, I'm so sorry, I don't
No,
know
that's
off the
okay,
top, but
just because I know it's been
What would be your
interest.
desire?
Yeah.
Oh, what would we like? Oh,
Right,
wow.
I guess.
So,
It's 200 days.
200. So it would, it'd be nice to go back to what we used to do, but I don't know if that's feasible. We used, Parks and Rec used to be in there Monday through Saturday, 10 to 12 hours a day, so.
Okay.
I don't know if that's feasible. but
Thank you.
That would be ideal.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Anything else that jumps out? So I'll just get ahead of it. You'll see a pretty big number for the software subscription. That's our rec desk is the operating software that we use.
Operating supplies.
I haven't had much time to dig into that. I think we're happy with it
Oh, no.
right
I'm
now.
sorry. Right here.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, Councilmember Wells.
Somebody was looking over my shoulder and said, "Don't you have a question?" And I said, "No, I think I had it," but I actually thought that was the motor pool line. On the capital equipment, can you just tell me what that is? How we went from?
Where?
On 8103?
Oh, where's this?
Am I on the wrong
We're in
page?
cemetery?
Parks and Rec, campgrounds?
Campgrounds.
Sorry, page 73, did I go backwards?
You went
Well, you know what, we already went over that.
Are you sure?
Yep, the
Okay.
page, my page flipped down.
We're on 77.
Yeah, we were. I already asked that question.
Okay.
I'll stop looking over.
Stay over there.
These side conversations can get you pulled in.
Man.
Okay, Maggie, you continue.
Yeah, I just
We'll keep Randy quiet for a minute.
Anything else on here that you guys want to discuss? I think that was, oh wait, operating. Yeah, I guess the operating is, I guess it's up there. You know, it does take quite a bit to put on these events, like, I can't speak to this specifically, but just in my historical knowledge of even just running the Pink Cheeks triathlon event, like, just ordering shirts was like $6,000, and that was a decade ago. So, you know, these events and things that you put on and the equipment needed, it gets run through quick, you know, stuff, you know, basketballs and things get used up real quick, and, you know, it's just one of those things that is a high expense. Yeah, so if you guys had any issue or wanted to talk about that, we could dig into those numbers. Moving on. Okay, so, yeah, Boys and Girls Club. So, obviously that number jumps right out at you. We have an agreement in place, and it was put in place, actually, I was the director of Boys and Girls Club way back when. And honestly, it saved our behinds, because Boys and Girls Club actually got asked to leave the school as COVID hit, and that merger took place right, like in February, right before the COVID hit. And so we were very grateful to the city for giving us a space, because the Boys and Girls Club would be no longer if it weren't for that partnership. And not much, well, nothing really was done until very recently with that agreement. And so it's one of many things that, you know, we'll be circling back to and spending time on and taking another look at. I don't have anything else prepared to say about it, but if you guys have any questions or want more information, you know, I certainly wouldn't mind talking.
Madam City Manager.
As Maggie stated, this is the contract that we're going to circle back on and regroup and go through now with Maggie to see what changes need to be made along with any financial changes. But for now, we went with what the contract language states and the amount stated. So I imagine that really more at mid-year budget cycle, we'll have more information or anything that might come up.
I really don't want to break, you know, service to the youth. So there's a lot of users there. So we want to make sure that stays operating.
Okay. Councilmember Calhoun has a question.
Just a curiosity. So Boys and Girls Club, they run the facility. Obviously, there was an agreement that has been made because we have very small fuel costs, heating fuel costs, like 0 in 2022, and now we're going to go up to 5,000 for heating fuel. Is that because we're going to pay for part of the heating fuel now, or?
So If I may, Celia, is that something I could lean on? Because that was the senior center thing, right?
That it was,
Something that
yes.
I don't have I don't have any knowledge of that, honestly.
It doesn't come here.
Yeah, so I don't know if anything's spent.
I believe we should have been
So
paying.
what happened was, the person who was doing billing in Shoreside, used to split the cost already in the invoicing. So they were invoicing us for many, many years in the correct way. They changed the accountant over there, and this new lady didn't know about, and they were invoicing us, invoicing them the total amount.
The senior
Without the
center?
seniors, the senior center. So they were paying all of those costs out of their budget. So we find out, actually, Dana Paperman find out. And we were back and forward with Shoreside, and we make the reconciliation and make the payment. So that amount is for almost half of the year on heating oil.
Okay.
Yes.
For the entire building.
Yeah, right, okay.
Councilmember Calhoun.
So down in 7216 maintenance repair, we running into the same thing with that? Where we weren't paying for anything and now we are?
For the repair of the building, is that accurate?
Well, I won't say we were paying nothing, it's just, we budgeted $1,500 in 2022. And now we're budgeting $15,000 in 23 and 24.
So my intention or hope for that was to repair, I don't know that we need it both years. I just know that the facility is aging quite rapidly now. There's lots of repairs needed, but in particular, an emergency door needs to be repaired as soon as possible. It's just lack of, we just haven't been able to find the contractor to do it. So that's my hope for it, and then honestly, that money could be spent quickly, so it might be more appropriate as a capital improvement project. I don't know. I'm open to it.
Councilmember Calhoun.
Okay, and sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
Motor pool rent for the Boys and Girls Club?
No, oh, yeah, no, that's not a,
Because it's there.
I know, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, no, so when the agreement took place, I took one of the vans, he offered up one of the vans for $1, and I took one, and that was the end of it. So that van that is there is no longer the
So that
city's.
$11,000 shouldn't be in the budget?
No, take it out. Another cut.
This is perfect.
Mike is just finding
Are
money
you-
all over
Well,
the
no,
place.
I'm not sure should we cut or not, but I didn't know that we still had a vehicle need with Boys and Girls Club.
Maybe we do.
Madam City Manager.
So it's my understanding that we own this van, but at some point, we're going to need to replace it, which is why we put money into motor pool.
I
So it
apologize.
should be cut.
Okay.
We can look at the amount to see if we should reduce it or not, but it shouldn't be cut. We do need to contribute to the motor pool for eventual replacement.
So we're providing a van for the Boys and Girls Club to use?
No, I do believe it's used by Parks and Rec. Is that correct?
It should not.
All the dogs then?
Yes.
Yes, that's nice. Oh, the green van is used, but
That's used by Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
sorry.
maybe it just needs to be moved to a different.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need to
Section.
do. Yeah. Thank you.
We will get back.
Okay. All right. Maggie, you got more?
Oh, golly. You haven't heard enough of me yet?
Not quite yet.
What do I need? Where am I? 120.
120? Oh, parking.
All right, parking. Oh, parking.
overview and then we could,
Yeah, so, are these actuals after June 30th? Okay. Yeah, and I believe, so I'm not sure where we're at now, but you will see a dip, a substantial dip. And again, it's compliance, as people caught on that there wasn't, any compliance being done towards the end of the summer. It just, we were taking in less. And that we hope to remedy with staffing, better marking, lots of improvement plans down there for next year. Let's see. Okay, I don't want to jump around, so you guys, do you have anything on page 121 or 122 that you wanted to pull out?
Councilmember Demoskis, sir.
I guess I'll just ask on the 2023, 2024 revenues, is this a just forecast, obviously, based on, what is the increase based on, I guess? There isn't an increase.
It's a decrease.
It's actually,
Manager.
it's actually a decrease, and part of it
Oh, yeah.
it was because of being concerned still about non-compliance, and so we decreased, we're gonna work on the compliance to gain the revenue, but it's really a decrease over the last several years.
Okay, thank you,
If you're
sorry.
looking at
Yeah,
this page.
Okay.
I'm seeing it.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Just, we're talking about decrease. But we're increasing our budget projection for the North Harbor lot. Is there better compliance there?
Someone want to, Crystal, you want?
That has to do with the repair of the North Harbor. This year, the harbor was being repaired, and so we didn't have people necessarily parking there, and we're expecting it to, it's completed, so.
Yeah, it would be much more attractive to park over there, safer.
Right. Any other questions on that area? Okay, go ahead. You guys, simmer down over there.
Separate them.
Yeah, maybe
She's
that's.
trying to make me nervous. It's
This is a
working.
more informal
That's right.
situation. So what you got, Maggie?
I don't really have much. I'll admit, I know less about parking. It just, because it wasn't, our highest priority, it seemed to be taking care of itself. I focus really on this, but anything that you need to know, and I don't have an answer for, I'm happy to investigate and get back to you.
Looks good. Any questions about parking? It's a big shot. Okay. Is that-
Well, it'll just be good enough, we get some
Go ahead,
updated,
Councilmember Calhoun.
some updated numbers,
Yeah.
beyond, because once you get through August,
Yeah.
you're through most of the summer, so it'll be nice to know what those
Yeah,
numbers
with
are.
Salmon Derby maybe. Let's see a little booster. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? And that's, I'll go ahead.
If anyone was wondering, the 7215 operating supplies, you'll see in 2022 is budgeted, but that's pay stations, and that purchase was made and that's done.
Wow.
Anything else on there?
Councilmember
Maybe
Calhoun.
this is more for administration, just the 2022 year-to-date actuals in the 6,000 series.
There were no employees for 22 in parking.
Yeah,
Past it.
yeah.
None at
so
all?
I know that looks really goofy, but
Okay.
yeah, hopefully that won't happen again.
I knew that we had shortage, I didn't know we didn't have any.
Yeah. Well, they applied, there was a couple applicants, but then we didn't have any maintenance staff, so I'm told. So we scooped them up and put them in maintenance. So that was a greater need. Anything else on this
Okay,
one?
anything else? That's your last, did you realize you were in charge of so very many things when you took
No,
this?
no. No, I'm trying to play it cool.
You're doing a very good
It's
job.
working.
Make it team.
Great job.
It's working.
No, there's a lot of work to be done, guys, but
It's a lot.
I love this town, and, it's all about building the right team and the right people around you, so.
That's wonderful.
Do you guys have anything else?
I think we're good with you.
I've starred the things to follow up on. I'm new to the process, so I'll have a direction there on how to provide you with that. Thank you for your time.
And I'll ask at this point if there is any citizen that would like to comment or question at this point. There's a citizen right there. Well, what we've decided, if you didn't hear the beginning of the meeting, after each presentation, each person can have up to 5 minutes.
Up to 5 minutes.
Up to, and you
Double
need to
it.
still state your name and the whole thing, okay?
My name is Kat Sorensen, and I live inside city limits. And I want to first thank Maggie for all of her hard work. It's great to have such a refreshing, exciting person at the heads of Parks and Rec. My first question that I had was, if we budget $80,000 for the AvTech, do they only charge us for the days that we use? Okay, cool. Then budget away. I want that to be open as much as possible. Fully support funding all of the cemetery efforts. I walk through there every day, and it's really exciting to walk through time, and it would be great to have more of that and all of the people who are buried there recognized in some way. As for race gear and stuff, I've gotten 4 of the same t-shirts every single time I run the Exit Glacier 5K, so you don't need any more of those. I really like the mugs and the stickers, so if you want a lower cost there and just do that, I would highly support that. But then the big thing is, I think all of the credit card fees and user operation fees should be passed on to the users at the RV stations. You already have some of the lowest fees in town, and we're seeing an increase in funds thanks to the increase in the prices, but there's still a huge gap in there. An extra 2% isn't going to make a difference for the people who come to town, but it can make a difference in the budget line item. So I would definitely recommend passing those on to the end users for the visitors in town, because they're just going to click through and not even notice that $2. And if you're looking to get away from CampSpot, is that what it's called? Yeah, I don't like that one very much either. We do a lot of the booking for the RV and camping at the chamber offices, so we work really closely with it, and it's pretty clunky and terrible. I would also recommend looking for one where you could pass the fee for that onto the end users too. Like, we all buy stuff online. If we really want it, we pay the fees. So people coming to visit Seward, if they pay those extra $3, $4 so that we can have a more robust year-round Parks and Rec and not waste our money, not waste, but not utilize the funds in that way, I would be in full support. Also, one other thing, the full-time maintenance job, I think that's an awesome idea. I do also agree it might be hard to hire for $36,000. Is subject to furlough a thing you can do in the city? Like, have them work for 10 months and then subject them to furlough for the 2 months that they might not be super needed, but they still get benefits and everything. Like, I know the National Park does that for some positions. They just get furloughed for a month, still get paid the same amount, and then can still have benefits when they come back. So if it's not too busy in like November, or I don't know what is a downtime in maintenance land, but I think that would be a good way to make it more enticing to people who are interested. So I only used half my time, but thank you.
Well, thank you. Is there any other person wanting to speak at this point? Well, what I'm going to suggest then is we take a 5-minute break at this point. Is 5 minutes enough? Okay. 6 minutes. We have a request. Do I hear 7? 6-minute break, and yeah, and then we'll begin Public Works at 7 o'clock.
Sit in between you, protect
Don't do
Randy.
that.
Reese's. Here, do you like these two? Will the enjoy?
I was just like,
Oh, hey,
I do.
this is such a fun-loving group tonight, but we are now back on the record, and we are continuing. It's 7 o'clock. And the topic right now is Public Works General Fund. And we have someone here who is going to lead us through it. And just for the public, you might actually say who you are. I think everyone knows, but I'm trying to let everybody know.
Sorry, Stephen, just throwing.
Once you get your act together, okay?
Don't hold your breath.
Well, and I'm glad you called it an act. In public, that was.
Yeah, well, you know, these are the more informal sessions.
Yeah, like I keep saying.
Keep saying that.
All right, just starting the general fund for Public Works. Let's see if I can get the right page here with you guys. 61.
We go back to, 61, right? Yeah.
Oh, yes, thank you.
It's my favorite page.
What? There's notes on that page, I take it. So there was a few changes in Public Works and in the budget things that we've done. We're looking first at the streets budget on page 61. Public Works, for, if you don't know for sure, you've kind of seen it in the packet, but there's a street budget, there's a city shop budget, there used to be a snow and ice budget, it's now combined with the street budget.
Right.
Okay? Then there's I believe it's called municipal buildings now.
Yeah.
And so it used to be 3 different budgets, one for just the annex, city hall, and community center. And what those budgets were doing, we have a custodian, so we have just labor in the community, or in the city hall one. And that's where Dave's salary comes from for cleaning. And that's the labor we have for building maintenance right now. As far as the building maintenance, like I said, it's custodians right now. We come in as Public Works, and some of the street department of this budget does some of the other building maintenance items that are bigger. We'll come and help out where we can. We're not electricians or, plumbers. We do take some work with pull them out of our water sewer crew to help with some plumbing like boilers and things. General fund, I think the notes on page 63 give you a little bit of difference on just what it was for the materials for the winter sand, changing operating supplies. So there's a few name changes that have gone through. When we combined the two, snow and ice, we're just breaking out the winter sand and salt to be able to kind of account for that cost, since it's a pretty major cost, instead of just lumping these materials. Then the contingency, that's hopefully as we get some sidewalk funds to put in, we'll be able to add some contingency in there to do some more sidewalk. And maybe that'll come back out into capital project stuff, but however, as council puts that money forward, we can make that work. There's a few different things.
Excuse me, Doug, Madam City Manager.
Thank you. I wanted to address that right now as far as contingency. That is obviously a new line item for us, correct? Anyway. Okay, it's now being funded, but anyway. So in the 2024 budget, at one point, we were excess revenue over expenses. And so I thought about what we need as far as projects, and sidewalks came to mind. So the money that and this will change because as we're going through, we're gonna have to have different numbers. But I put that extra, so to speak, money into the sidewalks, into contingency for the purpose of sidewalks. This probably will change as we move through the process, but that's where that number came from.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and we have, the way this has been going, we get occasional questions, if you don't mind, so I'm trying to.
Wait till the end.
So,
Just jump in wherever you want to jump in. Wave at me. I sometimes get my head down.
I'm getting pretty good.
All right.
Councilmember Calhoun.
I'll be back.
Just to address that question that I had about that, since you brought up the contingency thing and the sidewalks. Is there a reason that money that we moved for sidewalks isn't in the '23 budget?
There is a reason.
So, because the '23 budget didn't have that much excess on it. The '24 budget had excess, so.
Yes, I can follow up.
Madam City Manager.
So the council appropriated $350,000 from the capital acquisition for sidewalk project, but it won't be completed until '23. So is that staying then in the sidewalk, excuse me, in the capital acquisition? I think that's what this question was. So it'll stay in capital acquisition and be encumbered for the sidewalk project?
Correct.
Okay.
So it won't show in the street budget, it'll show in the capital project in that.
In the fund,
Okay,
correct.
so we can do sidewalks. So I think what the question is, can we get some sidewalks?
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure we weren't not doing sidewalks.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. I was going to ask that
Yeah.
eventually. Okay, Doug.
Okay. And I had forgot the amount that we were doing sidewalks, but I know as that comes out, we're gonna do, we've got the priorities of how it goes, so you guys can see it, and we'll go through those to put them out to bid when we go do it. It's something that the cost of sidewalks is pretty expensive to do, but the ones we've just got done with have been just so awesome to get them done. So we're just happy to get those. Anytime we can get sidewalk money, we wanna do that. Probably the biggest change, and you probably talked, did you guys have Harbor already?
Not yet.
Can I just ask one question, Doug? Sorry.
Councilmember Wells.
Thank you. My bad. I did have somebody ask me about the sand for the streets. So I think I know the answer, but I wanted to make it public. So I know when we pile up the snow and as it melts, we have lots of sand. Is there any way for us to say how much that we purchased and we had left over to reuse, or do we have any that we reuse?
It's really hard to reuse when you get it in a ditch full of debris.
Okay.
You know, because most of it gets swept to the ditch. We do have some as we haul it off when we do our sweeping in the spring. And we'll try to use some of that in the alleys if it's appropriate. And then we dump it over with the snow dump area also.
Okay.
But as far as the total, we bring sand in as throughout the winter. We can't really gather it up during the winter. It's usually frozen into the snow and ice alongside of the road. But then for the next year, there's some like I said, we typically try to use it in alleys and stuff.
Like when the big snow dump melts down?
Right.
Okay, that was just a question somebody asked me the other day, so thank you.
Okay.
Me? Okay. Talking with Norm, if you guys had Harbor already, I think, didn't you? Oh, you haven't had Harbor yet. One of the things that's come up is our CDL licenses for our drivers, for our operators. They've changed some, the way you have to go about getting the CDL. We used to be able to just go up, take a written test with DMV, get a learner's permit, do your driving, get used to it, figure out all the inspections on it, and then set up a test, Soldotna or Anchorage, to go do the test. We always had to drive a vehicle over there to do it, but, you know, it's part of what we had going. Now they're trying to bring it up. It's like $6,000 for the class. That doesn't include any travel and the expense of hotels and that. We're looking right now between Norm and I trying to figure that out. It could be $8,000 per guy right now, or per gal, or whoever goes to get that. And I know that I've got 2 coming up. I mean, that's $16,000 right off the bat just to get, if they don't have a CDL already. It used to be much easier, and so that's just something to look. We didn't put a lot of extra training in this budget. We left it pretty much static as we were writing this budget, but that's just came up recently. And so we have to at least remember that. You know, we have 1 new person on right now that is needing CDL, and I know Harbor's got 2 or 3 coming, and we're still trying to hire the last one that we just lost a person. So, you know, sometimes we get lucky and they have a CDL and they're grandfathered in, but just something to be aware of. Like I said, we didn't stack it up in here, but we could easily be, you know, another $16,000 by in a year just to get operators certified. So just something to remember. That doesn't include any other training we do. We do what they call CECL training, that's Certified Erosion and Sediment Control. We have to have that when we're doing projects, bigger projects, and it's basically just storm water. What are you doing with the storm water when you have an open project and it's running somewhere else? So we have those, we have our traffic control and our flaggers, and there's just different training we have, and that's what the budget we have for now, and not for the big CDLs as they come. So we're trying to figure that in and how to get there. So as far as streets, other than the changes of combining, most things are fairly close in there, and I'd certainly entertain any questions if you guys had any more on that before we moved on to the next one.
Remarkably, there aren't any.
Okay. That must mean I talked too much. I couldn't get
Never.
questions.
One never knows these things.
Hey, who said that? All right, we'll go to city shop.
And give us a page.
Mine says 64.
Okay,
Yeah, it does say 64 with my glasses.
I just wanted it for everyone.
Okay. So the shop, again, we're really not much changes on the shop. I mean, I'm going through and checking red lines and seeing what we've got where. We don't really have a lot of big changes at the shop to add a budget or go through. I mean, we've got the necessary personnel change with whatever the union negotiated for salaries and wages. But, just the regular costs that are going up for utilities and heating oil, and that's really the main changes on the shop, unless you see something that caught your eye. Anyone that?
Councilmember
Nothing caught
Ross.
my eye, thank you. Nothing caught my eye, but since we're talking about the shop, can we get an update on what we think an ETA will be for the new shop? Or, I know it's several years, but
Right.
3 months.
just for the public, so we can kind of see, just a
Sure.
recap of where we're at.
So we're still dealing with the engineering, correct? Go ahead.
So, and there'll be an update in not the next CMR, but the following CMR. So we're just in the beginnings of geotech, and then the project kickoff is going to take place on November 8th with our engineering firm, and they're going to bring down an architect to meet with Doug and his team, 2 years probably. Just remember, we're going to
Okay,
have to go out to
great.
bond, so it'll have to be on the ballot. 2 years-ish.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that's, yeah.
Councilmember Wells, did you have
I was gonna say it's better than 20.
Yeah, or the 35 we've already been through.
Yes,
It's
sir.
just a long time coming, and certainly needed, so hopefully we'll have some real nice updates on not only the timing, but the structure and the layout and all that for you real soon.
a, okay.
All right, unless there's other questions, we can go on to the municipal buildings, which is page 67. And I can jump to 68 a little bit if you would like to, just there's the explanations on 68 of some of the bigger changes for the budget. The big thing was, first off, rolling all 3 of those buildings into one budget. We certainly have some older buildings that have some repairs that need to be done. Most of them are gonna be a bid out type of a job. We're really still having trouble getting plumbing quotes and stuff. Our plumber here is just so busy with everything. We're really having some issues with trying to replace boilers and that. So we'll go ahead and just try the bid route and see if we can get someone to come out of Anchorage or the other side of the peninsula or something. But if we can get somebody to come in and do it, I know we'd probably overwhelm them citywide with different, especially get a plumber in here so they can do that. I know fire is looking, we're looking at annex, and it's just all over to try to get there. So we would like to see some of those come in. The change of having, I liked combining the 3 of them together just because we only had Dave, the custodian's labor in City Hall, and he was doing annex, a little bit over there, community center, but most of that is done by the senior center and Parks and Rec as far as the custodian work. We go over and we'll do the boilers when they need help with the boilers, change the air cleaners. We'll get some calls here and there on things going on and try to help out with where we can, but most of our work is done at the annex and at City Hall. We are now working in, we've got a you added custodian, which we always used to have two forever, and just with budget cuts, some things had went away. But what we've done now basically is combined the library custodian work, which will combine, and I'll take both. The custodian will fall under this budget. He'll clean the library and do work at the annex and wherever we kind of need him. They're kind of doing some shift work though, because we're trying to do custodian work, obviously, while the building's not full of people. So the schedule we have right now is one of them comes in 11 at night till, or 1 in the morning till 11 in the morning, roughly in there. The other one is a 4 at night till midnight or 1, right in there. You have their lunch in between there too. But so we've got the off hours.
Madam City Manager has
Oh.
an interjection.
Was I ignoring it again?
So I just want to clarify on the notes, the full-time maintenance position is the existing maintenance position, correct? And then that where it says second custodian is already a budgeted position. We already have it. It's being moved to this budget. Previously, it had been split between library and Parks and Rec. That split didn't work as well. It's much better to have one supervisor, so it's been moved under, to keep the custodians together and under Doug's supervision. So reading it, I was like, wait, we didn't add another one. So anyway, I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
Copy.
Okay, Doug.
Okay. So anyway, the custodian work, we'll be able to utilize those guys a little bit. One thing I'm kind of looking forward to is when we have the snowfalls and before council meetings, when we've got the main crew out, custodian's long gone, he left at 11, our crew's just out bucking snow. Well, now I've got somebody that comes in at 4 that can come and get these sidewalks, so we don't have to break somebody out of a grader or loader to try to just clean for the city council meeting or whatever meetings might be happening at night. So that's going to be one bonus, and I think a lot of others as we kind of get into that and start figuring out the utilization a little better of who does what where. Might free Dave up to do a little more in this building. So those would be the major things as far as this, the big combining. I think the big thing I like is standing here right now. It was one budget, then another budget. They're small, but it's 3 budgets that you guys are all looking at and get glassy-eyed. Sometimes it's, but it is, it's confusing as you get going. So it's just something that combining them all together, I think helps everybody.
I think that was a Randy joke.
Glassy-eyed is maybe not the phrase you should use.
The truth hurts.
Councilmember Wells?
Yes. Doug, were you saying that the custodian would also be shoveling sidewalks, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that a normal thing?
That's what we do now, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to say that because I know of at least 3 people who are thinking about a custodial type of job, so I wanted them to know for the record that they would also be shoveling snow.
So, yeah, we do
Which is
utilize
good.
that. Yeah, we do utilize that. You'll see our custodian does the custodian work in the building, kind of minor, he's not able to really do any like electrical work, but he could change light bulb and do some of those things. But then the outside, he mows the lawn out here, City Hall and some annex stuff. He does the constant mowing. When you come to City Hall, it's been pretty good. He's got the sidewalks salted and, whatever he has to do to keep it, but then he leaves at 11 in the morning. So yeah, that's part of it. He's out in some cold weather, and we do have a little Bobcat tool cat that we try to sweep with that we're working on, and ours is broke down, and so what we're doing right now is really pushing with Parks and Rec, trying to share a tool cat for this winter while we're ordering a new one. So you'll see that coming up too, under a motor pool later.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, water. And I believe that's page 145 is where it starts under revenue and expenditures.
44. But yeah.
145 or 144?
45.
144 is the cover page, you're right. Thank you. So the only thing, on the revenue expenditure page, it's pretty much comes out of the finance as far as where we're at and where things are with it, but we've got on the expenditures listed SMIC, and I'm not sure, and this will be a Jeanette call, under revenue, do we need to add SMIC or somehow a split? as that grows over there more, we're trying to kind of keep it a little bit separate, but they are separate funds. And so I just wanted to talk to you. Yeah, for revenue, yeah.
Okay, it is listed in here, and we'll talk later.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
in there, but it just, do we need to split or not? So
Sure.
just something as council goes on further, especially if that grows more over there, it's a different system. So then I would move ahead to page 147. It lists all the revenue budgets kind of broke out. And I don't, unless you have questions on it, I can move past that one.
I actually have one question.
Councilmember Calhoun.
I noticed that we took as an expense out of the fire department's budget, we took out hydrant rent, but we still have hydrant rent in the revenue budget for the water. That's item 5807.
Thank you for that, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Any questions on page 147?
Okay, 148. This is the main water budget. This is for Watertown, this side. And the water general, it's really pretty close. What we have here is a change in our testing. And testing was a little bit of confusion, I think, between, like we do drug testing when we hire people. We do those type of testing, but with water and sewer, we do constant sample testing that we have to send to Anchorage. And they were getting kind of combined in, so I believe as we broke that, it might be good to write personnel testing, but testing right now is mainly personnel, I think, in that first column. Then you go down to 7023 is inspection and testing, and that's where some of that has been moved to. As far as training, we left training, again, left it there. They also have to have CDLs, but we're full staffed at this point on water and sewer. So those are fine. The things that they do training for, just so you know, is their training budget. We have to keep them with DEC certifications. They get level 1, level 2, and up to a level 3 as far as an operator for a water. There's different, you can have water distribution, water treatment, sewer collection, sewer treatment, and there's 2 others that you can get a certificate in. We have to have water treatment, water distribution, and then the sewer collection and sewer treatment. We have to have at least one of those folks in each discipline. And some of them we kind of combine, and the first one they get's generally focused to get them going in one direction good. Then as we get them through a year or 2, then we start branching out and cross-training and getting them into some others. But that not only to get your certificate for that, and there's a week-long testing that goes along, a class in testing. Then we have, they have to have continuing education credits. We have our foreman right now that's due by the end of the year. He's gonna have to go get 3 credits on a class. Some of them we can get online, and we really try hard to work our online classes or in-state classes the best we can. Just trying to save budget and get as many trainings done as we can. But that's what that entails as far as the training budget. And as I turn there, was there any questions more on the main general budgets there?
Don't see any.
Page 149 just finishes up, goes down through the rest of that budget and gives the totals at the bottom. And again, if there's checks or questions we can worry about, we can work on that. But Water General on page 150 just gives a couple narrative notes that the salaries were lowered to the SMIC breakout. We broke out some of the salary into SMIC salary, SMIC water salary, and then moved 5,000 into the inspection and testing. So that would bring us to page 151, which is water SMIC, and we show a budget for SMIC over there.
I have a question. Back on page, well, you're reporting on the Public Works General Fund and Enterprise Funds?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry,
yes,
jump right into
Broadway,
enterprise.
yes.
Yeah, so we didn't take a break for comments. But maybe we could combine them all at the end and give extra time.
I'm good.
Okay, you guys okay? Yeah, I just noticed we made the shift and okay.
Thanks for waking her back up.
Yeah, I know, that's a good thing. Okay, you can, so we're,
Jacket on.
these people that have so many things to deal with, sometimes it just
Sure.
runs one
I
into the other.
definitely like it this way, though.
Mhm.
A lot.
Okay, Doug, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You want to remind us what page we're on again?
Well, I gotta
You're
remind
all done?
myself first.
151.
151, thank you, see? Keep the direction things. All right, the water side, SMIC, as you can see, we added some salaries, and that's why the other one was down. We just added some of the salaries over to SMIC, just part of that separation. We'd kind of done some things the last few years trying to figure out how to make it a little easier, but these are separate funds and need to be, especially as that one grows a little bit, we're gonna really need to separate it. Have some new council members and folks, we have a totally separate water system over there and a totally separate sewer system with its own lagoon. So if you didn't know that, I mean, there's some things that it does make a difference on where we're at. Right now, everybody's just charged the same. But that, as we get going on the SMIC side and what development happens there or not, what are the real costs over there to make water and to do the lagoon over there? I mean, at some point, we'll have to, if it grows much over there, we may have to increase the size of the sewer lagoon over there. So that would come up in wastewater, but it's just part of our whole water sewer system on the SMIC side. So we have 2 wells over there and a water house, and we have then 1 tank up on the hill over there. It's I believe a 400,000 gallon tank over there. And I didn't really give you what we had here, but if you guys have questions, feel free to let me know and I'd be glad to answer them. So on the SMIC water, other than that, it's just the same thing with the inspection testing versus testing. Although I didn't see that we added the inspection testing in the SMIC side.
Yeah.
So we need the 7023 added into there.
Question from, what page are you looking at right now?
151.
Okay.
And we were under the 7011 testing, and then we added, we just don't have it in here,
Yeah,
but
we didn't.
7023 inspection testing needs to be added.
Yeah.
And I see down, if you go down the second from the bottom, it says inspection testing 7222, but that's actually supposed to be the computer hardware.
Okay, we have a
So,
couple.
so 7222 is computer hardware, not.
We have a couple questions up here. Councilmember Wells first, or go ahead.
Councilmember Calhoun was first, I believe.
Councilmember Calhoun?
Fine, go ahead.
Okay, you guys fight about it here.
I was just wondering, as a person with extreme dyslexia, is there a way to, when we have the correct numbers, 7011, for testing, do you think that we could have it, since it's gonna be drug testing, it could, instead of just each line item saying testing, should we separate it to where it says education testing, or urinalysis testing, or water testing, chemistry testing? Are we gonna, or is it just gonna say testing all the time?
No, so what we can do is 7011 was created for, and the purpose was, when it was created, to be personnel testing related.
Okay, so then we
So
make
we
it say personnel testing?
testing would
Okay,
be
that's
the
what I mean.
appropriate way to
Right.
handle that, and then the other one being inspection and testing for all
Yes.
Perfect.
non-personnel.
So we'll be doing that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Possibly?
Yeah.
If you tell me I can, then.
Well, I mean, is that
I
a,
would like that.
Yeah.
I mean, is that okay?
It's valid.
Do that.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
I like it.
what did you have?
Just maybe a comment and explanation for folks. If, the non-personnel cost, by far the largest expense is utilities, and my assumption is, which is a dangerous thing, that's for the wells and the water building or whatever?
Yeah, over
Is it-
there, it's for the water pump house,
Water
is the
pump,
main
okay.
thing over there.
That's-
That's running to pump water and keep
Right.
water pumping through the prison.
Right.
So that's our biggest user over there on the SMIC side is the prison,
Yeah.
for water and sewer. And as the industry grows over there, like I said, some things are gonna change a little bit and we'll see and who knows what comes next over there. So, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, and the next few pages, and you get to 153, or is that 63? 153. It's just showing you the enterprise funds and going through and the questions on that. I'd be glad to try to answer, but I might have to rely on finance a little bit to answer those, just exactly what may or may not have happened on the revenues and expenditures for that. And if you have questions, I can get that, or we can go on to wastewater,
Go on to wastewater.
our favorite. All right, so page 156 is where we're at for wastewater, the general revenue budget. And it's a breakdown, I should probably went through it with water, but I know you folks have kind of seen it too, that it shows your residential, small general service, large general service, just shows your different levels and what those revenues are for those. And you can see that the residential is almost double the next one of total, but there's way more residences than there are, say, small general, large general, and those type of things. But when you look at water usage, those are the things we'll delve back into at some point here on doing rate studies and meters and those sort of things. We need to get that at some point figured out. So, but the wastewater, if we move on to the page 158, gives us the wastewater general budget, so that would be wastewater on this side, which includes all of town wastewater from Forest Acres comes down, we get it to lift stations, comes down through, we've got Clearview, we've got the harbor, and then we've got in town, everything circles in and goes over to just by the falls there to lift station 3. From there it's pumped out under Lowell Point Road to the lagoon out at Lowell Point. That's the main system we have for our wastewater, and that was put in, I believe, in 1980. And back then there wasn't much out there. There were some votes, and it got voted in. Yeah, let's do it. And we ran electric out to Lowell Point, and that place has taken off since. So.
Excuse me, Doug. Councilmember Wells had a
Yeah.
question.
Doug, do I understand correctly that at 5330, the SMIC sales on average under 30,000 a year, that's for the SMIC area and the prison?
On page 156.
Sorry, yes, sorry, on page 156, Doug.
156?
Yeah, the revenue budget for SMIC sales, 25,000, it's under 30 all the way across.
That would include anything at SMIC, as far as I know, and that's, finance can correct me,
That's the
but.
prison, that's everything.
That's everything over there.
And are those, for example, the prison on meters?
Now, yes, they are. But that's a question I would have. SMIC sales over there, is that, I mean, it does look light.
Yeah.
And for the prison, are they considered large general and put onto this page as large general? They could be, because they're all billed together.
Pretty short.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because there's some usage there at the prison for sure.
Madam City Manager.
We'll take a look at that and get back to you, and I do want to also take a look at breaking out the revenue to go with the expenses. So we'll take a look and make sure it's classified correctly and bring that back to you. It'll most likely, it won't come back the next budget meeting, but we'll get it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna jump back to page 158. And so we've got some of the same thing as we go down to engineering, or not engineering, testing, the 7011. Again, that would become now personnel testing, and so you can see the drop in it. I'm not sure on the 200 if that seems a little light, but we'll figure that out. We've got 4 guys in there, but they're all hired right now. It's just if they get, we're in a random pool to get random drug tested, so there could be a little more there. But otherwise, most of that's been, I mean, most of our costs for testing is under the 7023 inspection and testing. And those costs just keep going up. You know, they're a lot of tests we have to do, and it seems that every time we get a EPA and DEC studies that they want to look at unregulated contaminants now. And as they do their study on unregulated contaminants, how many of those become now regulated as they go through? Obviously, we all want safe water. So if that's what it takes and we have to do something for safe water, some different testing, we sure don't want to end up with bad water.
Sorry, Councilmember, who else?
Again, I appreciate you breaking out the testing, Doug. So what you're saying is line item 7011, that is personnel testing, okay? And so, for example, in 2021, that would have been personnel testing and water, the other testing, correct?
Right,
okay. Samples. But then if we go down and look at the personnel testing, or the 7011, it drops to $200, right? But that's, what am I trying to say? I apologize. It seems like we're missing, how could it only be $200 for personnel drug testing, even if we take the 17,000 and we less the testing for the water, it still leaves a few $1,000s. Correct?
No, your math is correct. There's budget cuts we make too. And I really lean with the city manager as she looks at what our revenue, what the expenses have been. Sometimes we won't get that full amount as we talk, and she knows where she wants to put that. That's a good thing to look at if we're a little bit short. The $200 probably came from what was spent last year on testing, and maybe we just didn't have much for drug tests on that.
Okay.
So we need something in there for sure. And if it's 200, and maybe we look at that and come back on the next one. But I think the main amount is going to go to the 7023.
Okay.
And that's where the main testing, because we do so much water sample testing, sewer sample testing, that we have to send in and up to the lab and get our reports to go through our permits.
I understand. Thank you.
I have one more question here. Councilmember Dumas.
I'm sure you already explained this and I just missed it. What is up with the utilities? 2023 and 2024 are so much lower than 21, 22.
7015.
7015, thank you.
That one, I don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
To me, it's a typo. Is what
it's a typo. Okay.
I would really guess that's a typo somewhere in there.
Considering all of these spreadsheets are hand typed, yeah, it's probably a typo.
Thank you.
So it's not from putting it someplace else?
No.
Okay.
Good question.
Good catch, thank you.
Good job, Liz.
Good? Okay, Doug.
Okay, and then we work down through that. There's really not a ton of changes other than those, other than down, we're working on our travel again, same thing with our travel and training. We're real light on the water one, but we try to work them together and hopefully we can do 2 at once. But we didn't spend anything on it. There's years we might not spend a thing, and so as we look at budgets, I'd like to budget some in there for those, but at the same time, there's years, like anything, you don't use maybe what you thought, and other years you use more and you have to find somewhere to get it from. So that's the thing about, these municipal budgets. Sometimes we're using one to another and trying to keep track so we can make those educated amounts in here where we're going to put them. So other than that, I think as you go through, the last thing is just the finals on it. Motor pool things, I think all of us are paying motor pools, which is a good thing to pay those back. We got to keep that motor pool fund is to buy the equipment. And, streets, I think this loader was $219,000. I can expect a raise in my motor pool rent. because that has to get paid back in there. So in 10 years, we've paid money back in to buy another one when we need one. So it should just be a replenish itself every time as we buy equipment. So that's what and we had a few years where we were so tight on budgets, we didn't pay. The city managers at the time had just said that we just can't right now. And so that was a budget savings, but the fund was in pretty good shape and still looking decent, but a lot of big purchases have come out of that and we're having to repay now. So. And I think that's the end of the wastewater, and I'm not gonna be here for motor pool, so. Oh, did I skip it?
Well, we kind
Wastewater
of just
Smith.
skimmed over it.
Any questions on wastewater Smith?
Page
All right, I'm
160,
going back.
guys.
I must have stuck to a page.
He said, I already put my paper away, thank you.
Yeah, no, wait, there it is. It
Hey,
did
you know,
stick to
you
a
still
page.
got an hour and 15 minutes, Doug.
I know.
You could really-
I know,
Don't tell
but
Doug that.
wait, Kat's gonna help me out with that. She's gonna take some of my time to comment on it. The testing again, changed, and that's a question from the last one. The testing went for personnel to 200. This one went to 2,000, so one might be a typo, one or the other, so that's something to look at. One or the other from those two. This is a much smaller budget than the other one, so maybe they need to be just switched is what it is. Should be 2,000 on general and 200 on this one.
Yeah.
So that would take care of that. And then the same on I happen to be in a lot of the testing stuff, so almost every budget has something on that switch for the new testing, personnel testing versus the inspection and testing. And I think that was the main changes on that one.
We actually have a question up here.
Just because it's a little bit of a larger, thank you, sorry. Just because it's a little bit of a larger number, I'm just curious, what are subscriptions and dues for wastewater?
Subscriptions and dues for wastewater?
Yeah.
The subscriptions and dues are a lot of times we're having some type of a warranty thing on the different components. We'll have some of those subscriptions. We have, the dues we have is typically the biggest amount is gonna be to American Wastewater Association, the American Public Works Association. There's the water, like a rural water, which Alaska Rural Water, has been a big help. In fact, they do studies for us and they're usually fairly covered just by being a member. And so the next one coming that they're doing right now, they just finished doing our water quality things, but they'll be doing a source water, a new one. The last one was done in 2009, I believe, and it was before we put our water plant in, the North Seward Water Plant in 2015. And so now we'll have a new source water, and what that does is even goes to the mountainside area. Where is our source waters coming from, and where do we protect? How is it running underwater, or underground? So it's be a really good study, and so Rural Water does a great job with that. So those typically, I have a subscription or dues to almost all of those. There's 4 or 5 of them.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Doug? So you combined both of your presentations together.
Kind of. Yeah, just it's got
For
through
future
them.
reference, he doesn't need 2 hours allotted, okay?
It really did. I mean, and that's part of what you just saw where we were at. We combined the 3 buildings. We combined the snow and ice. Some of those are redundant, right? We're just going through barely a couple different changes on all the same costs of things. So thanks for looking at those changes and letting us do those, because I think it does simplify it. I mean, just a couple years ago, I had 12 different ones when we go through them all, including the funds, and working through those, it does get a tough night to go through. So, I'm at 45 minutes, that's awesome. I'd love to schedule me for a half hour, I'll make that next.
Well, you could keep talking now for.
I was gonna get Kat, and Stephen keeps kicking me to.
Don't encourage it.
Are there any other questions for Doug? Yes.
Real quick, and
Councilmember
that's,
Calhoun.
just to follow up with Councilmember Damasa's question on the subscription. So total for wastewater, general and wastewater SMIC is budgeted for a little over $16,000. Is that split out then evenly between the two of them? Because wouldn't the Wastewater Association of America, whatever, just be one? I mean, is it actually going to be $16,000?
I think it is, and that's not just those memberships to that. And so I would have to just double check too with finance what was coded into that. Some of those we code, just our permit, that's probably where that is our permits too. Our permits went from when I started, $250 per lagoon for the sewer lagoons. Then they doubled to 500, then they doubled to 1,200. Now they're at $5,000 and I've been here 6 years. $5,000 each per year. And part of that's been the state, as it was downsizing, DEC was tightening their belts, so they're pushing costs out to everybody else. And all the small communities end up stuck with these large permit fees. So I'd have to double check it, but that's what I would say the extra is on there, the bigger part.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you, and now you can have,
Do I still have a hallway side?
you can hang out for a minute. Does the public have any questions or comments on this? Okay. The public seems to be satisfied with that, which brings it back to us. Is there any discussion about anything before we get out of committee of the whole?
Could I add one last thing that we just looked at?
Oh, sure, well, you've got an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, no, just one thing on the senior center, community center over there. And we've been talking a little bit about how to, at some point, fund, that elevator will need a retrofit at some point. And it's roughly 100,000, 120,000, depending on what the costs are these days. We had some things, and whether we can plan putting money away a little bit for it, or, I mean, it's coming. We have issues with that thing quite a bit lately, and that's when we did the City Hall one, and they just like gutted all the old electronics and things out of it, put new panels, new wiring, and the thing's really been working really good. So it's just something to remember that's one more thing over there at the community center, senior center. The seniors rely on that elevator. Their lunches, their things going on there every day, that's a big deal, and so it's just maybe something too, as we're looking for different grants, that if we could find something for that, it's coming.
ADA grants, maybe.
Yeah.
We could try.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I did forward the request to Doug regarding the jail costs, and we'll get together and we'll get those for you, but he is looking at that, so just wanted to let you know that has been made, the request has been made.
Okay. Any other discussion up here on the dais before we come out of committee of the whole? Okay, so I will bring us out of the committee of the whole at 7:48. We're now back on the regular agenda, which brings us to citizens' comments. This is the 5 minutes you get each. Another 5 minutes. See, we're allowing comments. So you need to state your name as usual again.
Kathleen Sorensen, Inside City Limits. Thank you. Once again, I feel like a budget is indicative of the health of the organization or municipality that it is made for, and tonight is another example that our municipality or city is moving in a direction that is healthy and awesome. So thank you for all your hard work tonight and moving forward. I really appreciate it as both citizen cat and chamber cat. So thanks.
And do any other citizens wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, brings it back to council and administration comments and responses to citizens' comments. And I'll start with administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only question that I have for the council is regarding still, do we have a quorum for November 1st? I've been
reminded, that's a,
it's the
yeah.
budget work session, excuse me,
Could we
special meeting committee of the whole.
see a show of hands of those who would be here, will be here on the 1st? Uh-oh. Oh, and there's one there.
Okay.
2, 3,
have
it looks like a quorum.
May I make a statement?
Yes.
So unfortunately, I'm gonna try to be here, but the red has double surgeries that day, and so if I can't make it, I'll apologize in advance. But she'll be in Anchorage at the vet, and I'll do my best to be here.
But it appears we have a
Okay, I wanted to verify that, and that's all
Thank
I
you.
have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and then council comments. We'll start with Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, everybody. Again, this is only my second, last year I just kind of got the last little bit of it, but Doug, I always appreciate reading over your budget. It's always so smooth, I guess. And I do like how we put all the different departments there, the different buildings together. And I thank all the department heads for always being willing to take the time to speak to me and the other council members. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Nothing right now, thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Osenka.
I was just pretty much echo what Councilmember Wells said. Thank you to administration, thank you to the accounting firm and our finance department for all the information we're getting here. And just, again, it's a process, and it seems to me like we're doing all right today, and hopefully it keeps going smooth as it's been going, and we can make it through this process. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Tomas.
I'll just say thank you to administration, thank you to finance and our CPA firm for everything. Thank you to Kat for coming and sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate just the comments from the public during this time. And that's all I have.
Okay, and I'll echo that. Excellent presentation to Doug and all the others too. I mean, this is a lot for each department head to come up with and present. And the process, it made to the public seem awkward, but I think it's going very smoothly. I really do. I want to remind the public that our next budget work session, or special meetings, will be on October 24th, starting at 5:30, and that'll be the hour and a half before the regularly scheduled meeting on the 24th. And then the next one would be on November 1st, and I think that would wrap it up if we survive that long. So anyway, all of this information is online, and if you don't know where to find it, you could call the clerk or me or any of us or the city manager, and it's all out there. And I just want to remind everybody, it's dark, and potentially one of these days soon it's going to be slippery, so drive with caution. There's no snow to reflect up, so it really gets dark when you're driving at night around. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:53.